Just delete it all because we're not uploading that crap.
Oh, brutal.
Oh no.
I'm joking, man.
Can he see, man?
He's blind.
Blind deck.
Jesus Christ.
Hello, and welcome back to another helping of the Spacemen from Pluto podcast. I'm your host, Kristian, and today I'm joined by the usual suspect,
Ben.
Dan.
And James.
Great start. So, with thousands of people around the world now sort of tucking into the next-gen consoles, and thousands who've unfortunately not managed to get the next-gen consoles yet, we decided it would be timely to sit and have a look and explore the best and possibly the worst video game movies. However, before we do that, let's dig into the starter and let's ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What's everyone been watching?
I have actually been watching something new this week. I haven't been rewatching something for once.
Oh my god.
I thought, with Halloween over and we're well on our way to Christmas, I thought now would be the perfect time to watch The Haunting of Bly Manor because, why watch it when everyone else is and when it's timely? Why not wait until it has no relevance anymore? Yeah. I'm only 2 episodes in. It's pretty good. So I don't know why my voice went so high then.
That was incredibly high, wasn't it?
No, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but as the episodes are happening, I'm enjoying watching them. The characters are nice. There's some really good performances in it, but it's the kind of show where the episode finishes and I'm not desperate to watch the next one. So it's not like a big binger, but it's good quality, man. I like it. I like Victoria Pedretti, I think is her name, who plays the lead. I really like Rahul Kohli. He's good in it. It does the classic horror thing of it's got 2 kids in it, and they're doing what they're supposed to, but they're so kind of creepy and weird, but they're good at it. The one thing that it's not a negative, but the woman who's playing the narrator is clearly American, doing an English accent, and she really needs to decide whether this character is Northern or from London, because at the moment she seems to be swapping sentence to sentence.
A Cockney mank.
Yeah, man. Have any of you watched Bly Manor yet?
No, I've not even seen Hill House.
No.
Shame.
I just jumped in this because, I like Rahul Kohli.
No, I watched Hill House. I've watched through Hill House twice. I was rewatching Hill House before I watched Bly Manor, and I still haven't finished my rewatch. Hill House is so good, because I'm a big fan of Mike Flanagan, who is the one who writes it and directs it and edits it.
Oh, bloody hell.
That's his niche. He writes, directs, and edits most of the stuff that he does.
That's Christ.
Meaning it's almost a complete vision. I've heard that Bly Manor isn't as good, but he wrote Bly Manor, but didn't direct all of it and didn't edit any of it. Right. So, because he's got other projects, so I can understand why that's probably got the criticisms it has. But I would highly recommend after you finish Bly Manor going and watching Hill House, because Hill House is so good, and it has a bunch of the same actors in. That's what they seem to be doing with this. They're doing an American Horror Story, season by season, different stories, same actors.
Yeah, I haven't. I only watched the first half of season 1 of American Horror Story because it didn't grab me. But I from what I've seen, I can get that similar sort of sense and vibe to it.
Yeah.
Is it a kind of jump scare type thing? Is there a lot of jump scary stuff?
No, not so far. I'll be honest, it hasn't really been very horror so far. It's been more, I feel like, setting up stuff that's going to happen and setting up the characters. There's the odd sort of spirit in the background that's coming up here and there, but it hasn't been very supernatural or scary yet. I think it's still sort of ramping up and setting it all up.
If it's anything like the first season, it's less sort of jump scare, openly horror, and it's more like a character-driven drama that takes place in a horrific scenario.
I'm definitely getting that sense so far, yeah. Yeah, it's good,
cool.
man. I'm enjoying it.
Sounds cool. I've also been watching I watched the first episode of a telly show, also on Netflix. I started The Queen's Gambit last night.
Excellent.
The chess show.
The chess show.
The chess show. Solid. It's a good start, you know.
What episode are you up to?
2.
Episode 2.
So
Okay.
I just watched the
Okay.
first one. 'Cause I just said it.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I just tend to switch off when you're talking.
Yeah, it was a solid start. I didn't expect it to, because it begins with Anya Taylor-Joy's the present day. Then the whole rest of the episode is the flashback to her like origin of how she gets into chess. I didn't think I would find it as interesting as I did. I didn't think chess would be as interesting as it was. It was very engaging. I enjoyed, because in the episode, for those who haven't seen, she lives in an orphanage, is taking some tranquilizers, and is pseudo becoming addicted to them. But it also gives the impression that it's almost like they're giving her powers to be good at chess. And I was enjoying the idea that almost every little girl in this place was getting really good at a different type of game from these pills. It's like one's good at chess, one's good at like Buckaroo, one's really good at like Operation, and they're all in like different rooms doing these. It's like a really crap version of the X-Men. They're all getting powers and these pills, and they're all playing these really like pretty like boring board games. Of chess is actually really good. But yeah, I thought it was a solid start. And then when it ended, I was like, oh my god, that's the end. Oh cool. I had no idea that it, that was the climax of the episode. So I am engaged. It's a good start. Way better than a chess show should be.
I've actually watched the whole series, Ben, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good indeed. I watched it on a bit of a whim because I was looking at what to watch through Netflix. I had seen that Queen's Gambit was trending on Twitter and on Wikipedia. Weirdly, I have a thing on my phone that tracks what's trending on Wikipedia from week to week, and the Queen's Gambit was at the top. I feel like you want to say something, Ben.
I feel like we need to pause. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I didn't know Wikipedia had a trending page.
Yeah. Well, there's a little Wikipedia widget which basically allows you to at a glance see the top 5 things that are trending on Twitter for that week, and I think it's just a good gauge of what's being
on Twitter?
talked about. Sorry, not on Twitter, on Wikipedia.
Right.
Oh, he's having a mare.
I'm having a mare on Wikipedia for anyone listening. Wikipedia. Yeah, but it's the top 5 things on Wikipedia that are trending from week to week, and it's a good gauge of what's sort of people are talking about generally.
Can you remember what else trends on Wikipedia? Is it random stuff?
No, it's the top read articles basically. So recently it's been a lot to do with politics, like Donald Trump's up there a lot. If anyone's in the news, like I imagine, because we just heard about Diego Maradona, sorry to bring the tone of the podcast down, but I imagine he'll be trending on Wikipedia, because basically people are searching for articles and want to find out about people or events or whatever. And anyway, Queen's Gambit was up there, so I thought, oh right, okay, this is weird, people are talking about this show, and I watched the trailer on Netflix, and I thought, actually, it's quite intriguing. I watched the first episode, and it basically just grabbed me straight from the off. I kind of play a little bit of chess, but I'm no expert by any means. But I really like the way like the game was presented, really cinematic in a weird way. I love the way like the little girl is able to see the chess pieces kind of projected by her imagination onto the ceiling, and she makes all the moves that she's planning ahead of time and just imagines them out on the ceiling. It's really cool. And really good sense of time, really good sense of place, good performances, and I would stick with it, Ben, because I reckon you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I might watch another one tonight, you know.
Go for it.
Because I was just going to say, like, it's a show that I was shocked that it's kind of on Netflix.
You're right there, Ben.
Bear with me, everyone.
That he was genuinely shocked.
Bear with me.
He just loves the show so much he's getting a bit choked up, bless him.
Yeah, for the audio listeners, Ben is now taking a large sip of water.
Princess Gate Water. Sponsors of the show.
No, not sponsors. We have no sponsors.
Salford tap water. It's delicious. It's shocked me that it's a show on Netflix, because Netflix I kind of expect high action, Extraction, Stranger Things, The Witcher, chess. Like, it doesn't fit. if this show was on the BBC, I'd be like, haven't they already made this? Of course it's on the BBC.
Yeah.
It makes total sense, but I was just surprised that they've made this. I think it's a strong show. I enjoyed it. What about you, Kristian? What have you been watching?
I haven't really been watching a whole lot because, like I said in the intro, new consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You've
I've
been
mainly
watching a lot of games.
Yeah, I've mainly been playing a lot of games. Finally, finally owning my first Xbox, so getting to sink my teeth into all those Xbox exclusives I've missed since Xbox has been a thing. All those years of people being like, play Halo. It's like, right, now I will sit down and play Halo.
Yeah.
Maybe way too late to sit down and play Halo, but
Halo's great though.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Could I ask you, Kristian, which is better, the PS5 or the Xbox One Series XS? If you've got to
Name there, Ben.
pick one.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't judge yet, surely. It's remaining to be
Kristian
seen.
can.
I
And he
Kristian
will.
judged it before they even released.
Yeah, well, I've always been biased on one side. I'll quickly go through and like measure things up because Xbox Series X so far been a great console. It's very fast. It's like incredibly fast even. It looks like the games look great. I haven't sort of tried it on any newer games because there isn't many that I have that don't require me to buy them for the console.
Mad that, isn't it? They expect you to buy games to play them.
I know.
Who'd have thunk it?
Bonkers. And my main problem is how cheap the controller feels. Like, I picked up the console and it was chunky and it was heavy and it felt well built and sturdy. And then I got the controller out and I was like, this feels like a Happy Meal toy.
Oh no.
Has it got a rattle inside and stuff?
But I guess that I get...
Almost, Ben. Almost.
Died.
I'm sorry. I was trying to think of what... I'm trying not to lose my train of thought.
It's my fault for talk. I shouldn't say such silly things. I apologise.
The PS5 controllers are really impressive though, aren't they? So it
Yeah.
surprises me that the Xbox ones are pretty shoddy, like
So-
what it sounds like.
Yeah, PlayStation 5, I will say, love the controller. The controller is probably one of my favourite things about it. Assassin's Creed, from me clicking on the icon to me getting into the game, takes 32 seconds.
It's mad.
That's
and then
great.
it never has another loading screen.
It's a bit mad, that.
The things I will say is, like, PlayStation have really innovated how their console runs and how it plays, and everything just feels a lot smoother. The menu, again, UI was confusing at first, but I picked it up, got the new layout of the menus figured out. However, as people will know if they've read the news, the PlayStation has had so many teething issues.
Oh, really?
Really? I hadn't heard about that.
As people know who had a PlayStation 4, you can put the console, you can turn it off or put it in rest mode. The PlayStation 5 has that, but at the moment, if you put it in rest mode, it can cause an infinite downloading bug, where certain games, specifically Black Ops, will infinitely download, never finishing the download, and will sometimes cause it to brick the console.
My God. Dear.
I called them teething issues. They're really bad issues.
You're going to come at me and tell me that the PlayStation 5 is better than the Xbox Series X when there are issues that break the whole console on launch?
Oh, you just don't
Get
put
in
it
the bin.
Just don't put it in rest mode.
He plays COD anyway.
I'm
Don't
not
play
having
rest
it.
mode,
No.
Just don't play
No,
COD.
not having it. Xbox has just won that argument in that one aspect
No.
of. So the Xbox doesn't break potentially.
But the controller's cheap, James.
Yeah,
oh,
I
no,
haven't.
heaven forbid I have to use a cheap controller on a console that's not broken. They've done well to keep that under wraps though, because I've not heard anything
I
about
haven't heard
that.
anything
Same.
about that. That's
Same.
a scandal.
Scandal, full blown.
I've talked about this for way too long, and kind of unnecessarily, because I can't really say which one's better. Like
I can.
would
It's
like
the Xbox.
I think we.
I would like to prefer the PlayStation, but it does have these really bad teething issues, and I would like to give more praise to the Xbox, but it's literally just a more powerful Xbox One and has no launch titles.
Yeah, but it also doesn't break. So
That's a minor problem.
Also, I would like to say I did load up the same game on, because there was which game was it on Game Pass now? It was a third-party game that I owned on both PlayStation and Xbox, and we loaded up we loaded up the game on the PlayStation and the Xbox at the same time, and the PlayStation loaded it 2 seconds faster.
that's all well and good, but the PlayStation breaks if you turn it off.
We've dwelled on this too long, and speaking of, Assassin's Creed, that's a franchise that, while it's done fairly well most of the time with its game counterparts, it's kind of been sketchy more recently. It was done dirty when it came to transferring it to film. So with that, we should maybe talk about some games that possibly weren't done dirty and actually were.
Yeah, let's focus on
Good
the positives
films.
here at the Spacemen
Yeah.
from Pluto podcast.
We're
all
Let's
about
focus on the positives.
positivity.
The good games. I mean, if we run out of good game films, then we'll talk about the bad ones, obviously. But
obviously.
There are no good game films.
Oh, there are.
Daniel. Daniel.
So who would like to start us off in our main course today?
God, you seem very strongly opinionated, Dan. On what's the best?
Go on, what's your favourite?
What's your favourite, Dan?
Favourite? If I was to pick a favourite, I'm gonna give that honour to the Super Mario Brothers film that was made in the early 90s. Just because it was so weird and it was so un-Nintendo that I've got to kind of respect it in a way. Like, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, I think that's how you pronounce it, playing Mario and Luigi in a really horrible, gritty version of New York. And they're basically both literally plumbers. Is it Dennis Hopper? He's in it as well.
Yeah.
As Bowser and all his henchmen.
Well, he's not referred to as Bowser, is he? Isn't he just King Koopa? Or do they actually ever call him Bowser?
No, you're right. Not Bowser.
Yeah.
He's King Koopa. Yeah, that's
Which is
right.
Just there's loads of really weird stuff in there where it's like it's either just randomly called something but has no relevance, or essentially he is Bowser but they don't call him. It's just a mess.
It's a very strange film, and I think it was in that period where Nintendo weren't super successful. They weren't the juggernaut they are now, and that was the result of it. They didn't have. I feel like the company nowadays would have a lot more to say about the way that Mario film actually was. It almost feels like an unlicensed product.
Yes.
Like all the little Mini Coopers are not actually Mini Coopers. All the henchmen.
They're not cars.
Yeah, I was so confused. A Mini Cooper? What are you talking about?
Mini Coopers. No,
small
what are they
Cooper.
called?
Not like
Basically,
the car. Like how
King-
like all of the like enemies in Mario, like they're called Koopas, Koopa.
Oh,
Yes.
are they? Oh, yeah. Yes, they are.
But their design is so strange. They're basically like these big muscly henchmen with tiny little lizard heads, and it's like
Oh,
the
yes,
weirdest.
yes, right.
Do you
yeah.
remember?
seen
It's the
memes of
weirdest.
that.
It's the weirdest thing, honestly, and yeah. But just for being so weird and just so left field, it gets my vote.
God,
I do wonder though why like Nintendo haven't made a Mario film yet. I know one's
Probably
actually
because of that one.
being planned.
They're like,
yeah.
look,
But straight up-
we're done. We tried it. It went awfully.
Yeah.
Let's just call it our losses on this
It's
one.
like
Yeah.
straight up do a Mario film. It would make a lot of money. Not that they need more money, but it would do well. It's Mario, man. It's like the Nintendo guy. So make a proper CGI type, computer animated Mario film. Get all the gang in. Get your Princess Peach. Get your little Toadstool guy. Get the
Toad.
Mushroom Kingdom.
Well, do
Toad,
do
yes.
the thing that they're doing, the new trend where they take the character and put it in our world with some sort of famous real life actor. That's the trend now.
I wonder what film you could be referring to, Ben.
I think Ben might be referring to the film that I know this might shock a lot of people, but yeah, I'm just going to go with it. Sonic the Hedgehog was a good film, and I will die on the hill that Sonic the Hedgehog 2020 was, on face value, enjoyable.
But James, it's not the best film of that year that you maintain it is.
I've not said that. I don't think it is the best film that's come out this year.
We all know.
We're a film podcast. We're a film podcast. We need to maintain credibility.
No, I think it's enjoyable. Like, because my thing is, when you go into a Sonic the Hedgehog film, what are you expecting?
I've heard you say
film.
It's better than Parasite.
No. See, now here's where you get into like.
What?
No. I don't think it's better than Parasite. I think Parasite is a better quality film. But if we're talking, which would I rather just whack on and watch? Sonic the Hedgehog. It's more fun. It's easy. It gets in there, an hour and a half, entertains you, and then leaves, and that's fine. Sometimes that is what you want from a film.
I would never pick Sonic over Parasite.
Parasite's a good film, but it isn't
We're veering off.
fun to rewatch, man. But no, my thing with Sonic the Hedgehog, I think it did a good thing of making a video game film, because obviously the main thing with video games is playing them. They're fun to play. Obviously, you don't get that with a film. You're not interacting with it. So don't maybe get bogged down so much on making game mechanics into a film. Just take the characters from the games that people enjoy and then put them in a film, which is what Sonic did. Like it's nothing like the games, because the games aren't story-based. They're gameplay-based. They just took a fun character that's worked in TV shows and threw him in. I think Ben Schwartz does a really good job as it. Jim Carrey's a nice... it's nice to see Jim Carrey doing stuff again.
Yeah, a bit more in tune with his classic stuff.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It did exactly what I expected it to do. It was light-hearted, some decent enough humour, and some bright characters.
Can I give you another one word for it?
Crap.
Okay.
Ooh,
It's
wow.
okay.
Yeah.
It's very fine. Very
What
average.
What did you guys think of the? We have to mention the whole, ridiculousness of the original Sonic, right? What did you think of the original Sonic?
The tactical, the marketing, the tactical bad design. It's all a conspiracy.
Oh God!
I was going to say I'm kind of all in on that conspiracy, because I think about the film process, and I think about the amount of people that had to go through for them to say, yep, this is a vetted design, this is absolutely the design that we're going to use. And I just don't think it could get through that many people without someone going, this looks horrific.
His legs, man. His legs.
Think it can, though. So many
so
things
weird.
are crap, though, that in films that surpass everyone.
But before they put out that first image, they'd shown clips of the film to test audiences. You're telling me not one person from the test audience went, that is horrible.
I want to see it. I want to see the original cut in all its glory. And you know what I really want to see? Spoiler warning for Sonic the Hedgehog, because it's a really plot-driven film.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see the original design for Tails.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Because
I just want to
we
see
get
a
the
picture.
cartoon version. Show me the real, awful-looking fox.
Interesting.
Shit.
I hadn't
Stuff of
considered that.
nightmares right there.
It would look like... Oh, no, I was going to make a niche reference. If anyone... Google the crack fox Mighty Boosh.
Yes,
That's what it would look
I was
like.
going to say that. But I didn't want to say crack fox on the podcast.
Bleep it. That's what it would look like. Absolutely. Can I go with mine? Can I
Go
say
on, Ben,
mine?
hit us with it.
Yeah.
I watched the film I watched was early this year, and I thought it was perfectly fine. And I can't believe it got slaughtered at the time so much. I legit don't mind / like Warcraft.
I've not seen it.
I thought it was actually
seen it.
okay. I was shocked. It got I remember at the time it was lambasted and chastised as this abomination, this beast, this disgusting animal on the floor. It's not. It's good. It's good fun. So it focuses on two storylines, the humans and the orcs, and the orc stuff is actually solid. like it's good character stuff, and it looks good. The CGI is all good. It's all well shot. The colouring is really pretty film, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, it's like okay, what's the problem? It's not great. It's okay. It's the definition of like a universe starter film, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because the whole premise is this war, so you have to start the showing the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like, "Oh, well, it's clearly just a Beatty universe starter film." And I was like, "Yeah, but if you just watch Fellowship of the Ring, and there was no Two Towers, Return of the King, that would be the same criticism. Oh, it's just a bait for the war to come." Like, well, it's the plot. I don't know, but I thought it was fine. Although I will say, Dominic Cooper's casting it as the king. It's a miscast. There's quite a few miscastings for the human. I didn't buy Dominic Cooper as a king, where he's got Travis Fimmel, who was Ragnar in Vikings, next to him, and he clearly is kingly. It's a bit of a shame, but it's fine.
Like my issue when I watched it, because I saw it at the cinema, because I don't know, I just decided I was going to the cinema, turned up and was like, okay, Warcraft's on.
You're one of
went to go
those
watch
people that just turns up. So what's on?
No. I just turned up, saw that Warcraft was on, went to go see Warcraft. Had myself a Limitless card, so just wandered in.
Fair enough.
My main problem with Warcraft was, like you said with Sonic the Hedgehog, it was just okay. It was a very typical fantasy film that didn't really have anything that... like the orc story was interesting, and seeing things from their point of view, I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and kind of new. But I don't know, like, but at the end of the film, it was just kind of like, oh well, that was just it was a fantasy film. Like nowadays, after like post Lord of the Rings era, I sit and watch certain fantasy films, and they finish, and I'm like, kind of just felt like a Lord of the Rings
rip-off.
rip-off.
That's a good point, to be fair. Yeah, you can't... It's hard when you do a high fantasy, different races. One of them is dwarfs as well. I think elves are in the film as well. It's like, you can't beat Lord of the Rings. Why are you trying? You can't... It's a bit
Was Lord of the Rings the kind of the thing that's like the original, like, let's have the dwarves, let's have the elves, let's have all these different fantasy
I don't know if it was
species?
the original, but it really, like, because of the technology they used for the large scale wars and seeing everything now, it was just in Warcraft there was like points where it'd pan over an army and play like epic music, and I'm like, this is literally just a shot from Lord of the Rings that they've put into this movie.
I thought it was...
Apparently...
Sorry, go on.
Thank you, Ben. No, apparently it did very, very well in China, though. Like, incredibly well. It made hundreds of millions over there, and it's getting a sequel because of that. It will be getting a sequel.
Really?
Apparently so, yeah.
Don't give me hope. I don't know if I buy that, Danny. I don't know if I subscribe to your theory,
fair
mate.
I mean, I have just made it up. That's complete bullshit. No. I mean, I read something about them making a sequel, but it was a while ago, so maybe they've knocked it on the head. Who the hell knows?
I'm surprised Warcraft didn't do better, though, because I've never played World of Warcraft, but clearly it's got a lot of fans to it, like a lot of people play that game. And surely it's got a lot of mythology and world building already there to do. Like, you don't have to create stuff for this film. It's already there. So what went wrong?
Yeah, I'm not fully sure on this. So if there's any World of Warcraft fans out there that want to correct me, they can, because I've never played it. But as far as I'm aware, Warcraft as a film did not go based on the game's mythology. Right. It made up its own mythology.
That's a bold claim if you're wrong.
Which, of course, is going to alienate fans. It's exactly the same reason that probably my most hated film of all time is Assassin's Creed, because I got to the end of that film and I was like, it has made up a story that makes no sense when connecting it to the games. They've literally just rewritten all of what the game has done.
I think that's a problem. That's a problem with video game sort of franchises in general when they try and make the crossover to films. I think the studios who make these films are always caught between two worlds. They want to appeal to the gamers and the people who know what Warcraft is and know what Assassin's Creed is, but then they've got to make a pretty generic sort of broad film for everyone else. They need to be able to bring in that broad audience, and that's where video game films always seem to trip up, because they never properly buy into that game world.
But I would argue that taking Assassin's Creed for example, you're saying that it's hard because you've got all the people who are fans of the games now and they know all this. They didn't when they made the first game, and they made a decent story there and set up mechanics fine in that. So you can do that with a film. I think it's hard.
My only problem is if they just said, "Oh, we're going to do an Assassin's Creed film," but and they'd have been open about the fact that they were like, "Oh, but we're going to rewrite the history a bit just because we don't want to just include people who've played the games. We want to open it to a broader audience." I get that. They can't just go out and be like, "Oh, we're going to make a Tomb Raider film, but we're going to make a Tomb Raider film just for people who've already played all of the Tomb Raider games," because that's alienating a whole lot of people. But with Assassin's Creed, it is connected to the games. I'm still playing Valhalla, and you can go into the modern day bit and go into the laptop, and there's still emails that relate to the film, showing that the film is still canon in the game world.
That's very interesting, because from the feedback that I've heard from it, it really feels like the kind of property that they would do their best to distance themselves from. I kind of respect that they aren't doing that, because I think too many films in recent years have just pandered to audiences way too much and tried to go, "Oh, that thing you didn't like, yeah, that doesn't exist, it's fine. We only make good stuff, that doesn't count."
Yeah.
Just accept what you've made, maybe not be good, and you've done it now. Move on.
You can always try and retroactively improve it. You can try and just acknowledge your mistakes, and then try and move forward and try and tie it. Just it's a shame. It is a shame.
Yeah, don't sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in and I sat and I watched Assassin's Creed, and I saw it in the cinema again. I went to go see it.
With your limitless card.
Yeah, because I had a limitless card and I didn't have to pay them any money for it. I think I went to go see 3 other films that day as well. It was the second film that I watched of the day, sat down, and there was so many times where I nearly got up and left and just went to a restaurant and ate food before my next film. But I was like, no, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to watch it all, because I need to solidly hone in on what's good about this film and what's not.
It bugged me, the whole idea that the Animus is a big arm that is on him, and then he can't, when he's in the past, he's maybe conscious that he's in the present as well, because he's running around in the room. And I was the Matrix did it, where you lie on a bed and then you go into the other reality and it works. What are you doing?
The weird thing was, they never say what year Michael Fassbender is in, deliberately.
Okay. As in present.
However, yeah, as in the present.
Right.
Well, they also never say what year he goes to in the Animus, but I was, whatever.
That's the least of your problems with this film.
Yeah. I was going to say, one of my main problems is the fact that the past section of the film makes up about 15 minutes of a 2-hour film. The rest of it is spent in present day.
I don't remember it being that bad. I remember there being a chase scene and thinking it's it's okay. Am I wrong?
It's a very short chase scene.
Yeah, it's suffered from the same problem the early games did, where the present storyline was the weakest. Don't you think, Kristian?
Yeah. But it started. It starts with it starts with the date 1984. So then it says 30 years later, but doesn't give you a date. And I was like,
throw it out there, Kristian. Probably 2014.
Yeah, I think you could work it out.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I can work out that it's 2014, but he's in this massive Animus room, running around the walls, whereas the game that it's supposedly connected to, the Animus is now just a helmet that they sit in. And I get that a helmet wouldn't have looked exciting, but they could have just cut to the past stuff and shown what he was doing without having to have him running around a room. And they're like, "Oh, and it's because it helps with the bleeding effect," and it's like, don't try and justify the fact that you've completely rewritten this.
Yeah, just have him lie on the bed like in the OG ones. Just
the most annoying bit. Spoilers for anyone who is thinking about watching this, but the most annoying bit is at the end of the film, they're trying to figure out where this Apple of Eden is, and they found out it's been given to Christopher Columbus, and of course Christopher Columbus takes it to the New World. But then, of course, you've got Assassin's Creed 3, which has the Apple of Eden in it, and shows where the Apple of Eden ends up being dropped at the bottom of the ocean. But then they come up out the Animus, go to Christopher Columbus's grave, open it, and he's got the Apple of Eden in his hands, and I'm like, but you've just completely disregarded. You've now created 2 timelines for the same artifact.
Yeah, that's why it's a problem. That's probably why the majority of the films aren't connected to the games they're based off, because it kind of restricts them. It's a problem that Star Wars always runs the risk of. Not to divert too much, but they will run the risk of, well, you can't do this because you've already shown this. You know, it's a common problem.
Anyway, not to dwell too much on how much I dislike Assassin's Creed, I will now talk about a film that I do actually like. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's the first Silent Hill film.
I've not seen it.
No.
It's one I've suggested that we watch for Timeless or Trash at some point. Because it's genuinely a very interesting film.
Oh, really?
It's got it's got an odd cast because Sean Bean's in it.
Oh, wicked! Why didn't you
Seen
say?
himself?
but Sean Bean is in it as like a weird secondary character who doesn't end up in Silent Hill at all throughout the film. It's so weird, but it's got like everything that it's not perfect. Obviously, it's got sort of trashy, cheap CGI because this is like 2004. But it's got all of the monsters look like spot on how you think they'd look from the games. It's got some like amazing moments of gore. It's got Pyramid Head, so you know, don't need anything else. That whoever they got, whatever like dance troupe or ballet group or whatever they got to play the like faceless nurses, did an amazing job because that entire section is so tense.
Dance troupe.
Yeah, I was dancing in Silent Hill.
Diversity.
They do a dance number.
I assume it had to have been a dance troupe or something, just because of the way the nurses move. And anyone who's played any of the Silent Hill games, the nurses only they move like sort of suddenly and slowly, and will like freeze when you look at them. They only move towards noise, so they'll just sort of they move similar to how like the clickers move in The Last of Us.
Oh, right.
They've got that sort of similar, like, clicky movement,
Yeah.
and then we'll run at anything that makes noise.
Cool. I'm gonna have to watch it.
But yeah, it's a great film with some super unexpected moments, and it tries its best to sort of mash up two of the best stories to the Silent Hill games. Silent Hill 2, which is what my background is. And Silent Hill 3.
Cool.
And it's just a shame that they then they made Silent Hill in 2004 and then made Silent Hill Resurrection or Revolution or I can't remember what it was called in 2000. They made it in 2012. They made it years later. Sean Bean came back for that one.
Yes.
But that film is so bad. It's honestly like I watched the first one. I was like, this is trashy, but it's good. The second one is just not. Like the second one's CGI is somehow worse than the first one's.
Yes.
And we'll definitely have to watch both because you know, Sean Bean is more involved in the second one, which is the best part of the entire thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many people will agree with me, but I very much enjoyed Silent Hill as a film.
Do you think you enjoyed it as an actual film, or do you think it's a case of you enjoyed the game, so you went in wanting to like it, and it's like for a video game film, it's pretty good?
I think it's more that like for a video game, it is very it sticks to the rules and the lore that Silent Hill has for the most part, but then also sort of spins it so that you can watch it not knowing a lot about Silent Hill and still understand the basic premise. Like, you know, it's got the whole like time switching thing where in the day there are sort of monsters that slowly wander about, but then every now and again an air raid siren will go off, everything corrupts, and like all the walls like peel away, and everything rots around you basically, and that's when the really, really intense stuff comes out and tries to kill you.
That's cool.
Because I feel like this is the thing with all video game films that people like. It's never, this is a really good film that you should see. It's always a case of, yeah, it's pretty good, or like, I enjoyed it for a video game film. That there always seems to be that added for a video game film tacked on the end. Yeah.
There's two video game films based on video games. I actually can't remember if they are good or bad. Have we all seen the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies?
Nope.
You not seen them, James?
No, because this is the other thing that I was going to
fun.
mention. I haven't seen many video game films because they always seem to be made about series that I haven't played. So I've never played Tomb Raider. I never played Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Doom, really, any of them. So when they're like, a film based on this game that I haven't played, not really that asked.
There we have the problem. Of video game films. It's kind of it's relying on people knowing. Yeah, it's James. He's the problem. No, it's just relying on people knowing the brand already, isn't it? Too much, I think.
It's why the best video game films for me are either the ones where they make the video games up, a la Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph, technically a great video game film, but is not based on a video game that doesn't exist.
I wouldn't say that counts.
Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, Spy Kids 3, based on a video game that doesn't exist. Or
Jumanji. I'm bagging him out.
I was going to say, or it's one where it's not a story-based game. So, like, it's a game where they've sort of taken an arcade game and turned it into a film. Like, I don't know how many people saw Rampage, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film with the giant gorilla.
I have seen it. Out of all the films we mentioned today, that's the one that I've seen.
I know. Barely anyone knew that was a video game film. It's based on like an old Midway arcade game. And literally the premise of the game is you play as a giant gorilla, a giant lizard, or a giant wolf, and you punch buildings down.
But that film failed.
Sounds right.
The idea that these animals can grow really big, and you have Dwayne Johnson, and you don't have him inject the serum to make him really big and punch a wolf in the face, a big wolf. It's such a missed opportunity.
Ben, save it for the sequel.
Yeah, well,
I just think like you should have just had Dwayne, like two Megazords, like a Power Rangers having a big fight over a city. Just would have been so funny. And they didn't do it. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's just I feel like that there's two ways you can do like adapt video games and do it well. One of them is a TV show, like, because I always think like if you're going to adapt a story-based video game, they often choose games that like The Last of Us or Uncharted that have like 20 to 40 hour stories, and then they're like, right, we're going to take that 20 to 40 hour story and we're going to cram it into 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it just feels rushed, or it doesn't come off properly. There's stuff that's missed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do very well. Whereas if you do it in a TV show, you can take your time with it, build it up.
Yeah.
That in part is why The Witcher's doing so well as the fact that The Witcher is also based on the books more than the game.
I would argue that the best way to go about a video game film is go down the Sonic the Hedgehog route and just be incredible. No, no, I think just use the characters. Don't dwell too much on trying to translate game mechanics into looking good on a film. Just make a film that happens to have these characters in, and put in little references to like how in Sonic the Hedgehog the town is called like Green Hill Zone or something like that. It's little nods.
It's weird.
You're not tying yourself too much to the game. It's
but
just
then
using
it's
the
like,
characters.
why are you bothering? Because like it's almost like your answer is to adapt a video game is to not do the game. So it's like, what's the point?
Well, I don't think they didn't do the game. I think it's more that they chose to adapt. They chose to adapt early Sonic, so they adapted, like old school arcade Sonic, where he didn't really have this lore. It was just, the game would boot up and it's like, You play as a blue hedgehog. You collect gold rings. You collect emeralds every now and again. You fight Robotnik. That was the story of the old games.
Yeah.
Sonic has then had lore thrown upon top of him in his newer 3D games. But that's what I was saying about Rampage. I think it's easier to adapt arcade games that have minimal or no story. And, sometimes it doesn't work. We could talk about Doom, but...
Never
Which
seen it.
essentially
Yeah,
had
we've not
nothing
talked about
to do with Doom the game.
I'm sure a lot of listeners will actually be screaming "Doom, Doom" because
That's because they want us to die.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Oh God, that's really dark, James. Really dark.
I wonder if listeners will be screaming about
surely
Detective Pikachu as well, because we haven't said that.
I think that's
Detective
another
Pikachu.
one that is prime for adaptation, because again, you don't even necessarily need to do Ash and Misty and Brock. You just do a film like Detective Pikachu that is set in the world of Pokemon, and it works.
The characters. It's
Yeah.
like they did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like that's one thing that they maybe that is the formula that works. Like instead of taking the game worlds and the whole idea of the game and let's try and make a film version of this game, let's just take the characters because everyone loves the characters and let's put them into a regular kind of more traditional story.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, for example.
The other way I would think that it would work, and I think it's something that we're probably going to see a lot more, possibly with the upcoming HBO Last of Us series, is you don't use the characters and instead use the world.
Yeah.
And write new characters into that world. Like if it's a big world that you can build up on top of, then you can write newer characters in. Because another one of the films I had written down, again, I don't know how many of you will have seen it. And again, I know that a lot of people would probably disagree with me on this, but I really like Final Fantasy: The Spirit Within.
Oh yeah, that's a throwback. That is a throwback. I think I watched it when it first came out.
Yeah. I haven't watched it in years, so it might be one for Timeless or Trash where we rewatch it and I go, oh, I mentioned this on a podcast as a good film, and it's not. But
Humble pie, eating my words.
yeah, but no, I really enjoyed that film because it was a film set in the Final Fantasy universe, but not dwelling on any known Final Fantasy characters. They just invented a new set of characters and went with their story set in a Final Fantasy world.
Going back to Last of Us as well, you guys have seen the trailer, right? For the TV series.
No, I didn't know there was a trailer.
You've not seen the trailer?
It's not a real
That's
trailer.
It's like
there's no way it's real.
It's like a concept trailer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's got the actual it's got actual actors, right? So it is a real. It's got Nicholas Costa-Waldau. Is that what he's called?
But these are all fan castings, aren't they? They haven't announced anything yet, have they?
No.
It's a concept trailer, but I think the show that they've pulled from is a different show.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, so it's all just fan made.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've
Okay,
been
can we-
fooled.
Can we edit?
You've been
Can we edit
hoodwinked.
that out?
I think
No.
you've had a
Absolutely
real.
not. That stays.
Yeah, it's just some fans taking footage
yeah.
from a show and put the Last of Us music on it. haven't they?
I'm not sure like how.
Danny's furious.
I'm not sure what show it is, but I think they've
kill
pulled it from a
myself now.
different show.
I think I can possibly rescue the point about The Last of Us. Is that when I saw the trailer, one thing that did, even though it is a fan edit, it was really jarring to see different actors playing these characters. Even though it wasn't really The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. It was like that's one thing that I think, like, as games get more, the fidelity of games gets more and more, like you've got things like Last of Us, which pretty much are TV quality productions anyway, and the acting's TV quality and film quality, and the graphics are almost photorealistic. If you then start making films based on these worlds, then it's just a bit jarring and weird. Like, that's, to me, no one else looks like Joel except Joel. No one else looks like Ellie except Joel. Jesus Christ. Rewind. No one else looks like Ellie except Ellie. Yeah, maybe we should just edit out this whole Last of Us. At least they've broken Ben. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Please say you do.
No one does look like Ellie except Joel. You're right, mate. You're right.
James, please just edit it.
Oh
Just edit
dear.
this out. Cut it.
I'll just finish this. This like main talking about the best and some of the worst video game films by asking how many people have watched any Uwe Boll
Oh my god.
video game films.
No, I haven't actually.
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
I've
I've not.
seen any
I
of
don't
them.
even know what that is.
I'm dying to watch Alone in the Dark. I know that one.
Alone in the Dark was the one I was about to bring up.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I've seen House of the Dead. House of the Dead is infamous, mainly because they didn't have enough film, so they just cut to certain shots that are from the game.
So, Kristian, for James's benefit, who or what is Uwe Boll?
Yeah. So Uwe Boll is a super arrogant German director. I'm pretty sure he's German. Who prides himself on making amazing films and thinks he's like, I'm pretty sure I've heard him refer to himself as the next Tarantino multiple
I was literally
times.
just about to say it just sounds like Tarantino.
But he makes awful films, many based off video games. So he's done Postal, he did a Far Cry film, he's done several Blood Rain films. But he did House of the Dead, which I just mentioned. But my favourite one is Alone in the Dark. It's a 2006 film, has Christian Slater in it and Tara Reid.
Christian Slater, the boy, the man.
And right, there is a section of the film. I whoever's editing this, I will send you the clip of the film, and for audio listeners, you won't get to see it, unfortunately. For anyone who's watching on video, I just want you to splice in part of this. It's a specific clip where they play like thrash music, because the entire soundtrack is written by like heavy metal and thrash bands. And they play thrash music to some of the worst edited quick shooting sequences I have ever seen in a film. Like, the CGI is awful. The editing is off. The camera work is shoddy. It's so bad.
I think you'd love it, James.
I think I would too.
I've written it I've written it in as a film to watch for any series at some point.
Yeah.
Like we are going to watch it for the channel because it is a beautifully bad movie.
The pinnacle of best and worst video game films.
And my favourite thing about it has nothing to do with the game. It relates to Alone in the Dark, the game, at no point.
Just by its title alone is the only reference.
That's it. It's the same. It's the same with Far Cry. Like his version of Far Cry is a military contractor gets hired to go and take out a biochemical lab full of mutated super soldiers.
I remember that Far Cry 2. Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, this relates to Far Cry.
That's
in no
so
way
weird
whatsoever.
because surely he has to pay money for the licensings to these games. So why pay the money and then not make a game about that? It would be so much cheaper to just make your film not with the name, because clearly you don't care about making it to do with
Paying for the name.
James. It doesn't make
Just
sense.
paying for the name so people talk about it on podcasts.
It's like Apple
Well,
products.
he's beaten me. He got me.
Damn, he's won. Yeah. He's won. Oh, no.
Yeah, anyway, with that, has anyone got any final statements on video game movies that they would like to
Sonic the Hedgehog's
air
great. Full stop. Underlined. Done.
I would say editor cut that, but I'm pretty sure you're editing, so...
I'm going to cut everything but that.
Just leave
On
that for
repeat.
now.
It's great. Oh,
But yeah,
God.
so I will move us along swiftly now to our dessert, which is a fun little hypothetical question that relates, and I hope you all have at least something, just because it'll be fun to see what you guys think. So I want you to basically get elevator pictures a video game or a video game franchise that you would turn into a film or TV show, and what you would do to make sure that it doesn't end up like 90% of other video game films and TV shows.
Oh my god.
I actually think I've got a decent idea for this one.
Okay.
So it's
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, just do it again. Just keep doing it again and again and again.
The extended cut on repeat.
Yeah.
No, so my idea is something they've toyed with a couple times, and we've seen, like, I think they've done similar stuff, like they've done live action trailers for some of the games. There was like a short little series that kind of it scraped the potential of what they could do with this, but I think there is absolutely scope to make a film set in the Halo universe. I think there's
Cop-out answer.
that's the
Had
Give
a
us.
TV
Not
show.
cop-out.
Not
Had a TV show.
necessarily.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
but this is
no.
what I mean. It scraped it. Like they did that Forward Until Dawn thing, but it just didn't feel like it was quite realizing the full potential that you've got with setting something in the Halo world. And I'm not saying do a Master Chief story. I'm not saying it has to be anything to do with the games. You can do it like go down the Halo 3 ODST route where it's a film about a group of Marines doing a mission and they're fighting the Covenant, or go down the Halo Reach route where it's just a team of Spartans. It doesn't have to be Master Chief and Cortana because, well, that's what the games are for. So I think you can make a great even TV show, and it's just like make a war film but with like grunts and like elites and the Covenant and Marines. I think there's absolutely scope to be making something out of the Halo world.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, James. Sorry, that's fit on my computer. I think you're definitely right, James.
I think stuff's been floating around that they are trying to do. I can't remember if it's a TV show or a movie. I know that there was a recent fan petition to get. I can't remember her name now. Someone else might know, but the voice actress who plays Cortana in the games to play her in the TV show or film or whatever.
I think she got cast. Yeah, I think she was.
And
cast.
yeah, she's just been cast. Yeah. She's not going to be the face of Cortana, but she'll be the voice. So they're basically having someone step in and be the face of Cortana, and then dubbing over her voice.
Yeah, they'll Darth Maul it.
So that it's, so that it sounds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
So it
sounds
like
looks.
Cortana.
Yeah. Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched Halo Nightfall? Is it Nightfall?
I
Like
thought
they-
it was Forward Until Dawn.
Well, they did they have made a couple shows or miniseries, haven't they, in Halo? And Luke Cage, the guy that plays Luke Cage, played the lead or something. So they kind of already done it, James. Bit of a cop out.
But I think that this is more. I'm saying is like, do it properly.
Yeah, the ones that they've done are more sort of like high budget YouTube videos than they are.
Wasn't Peter Jackson on board to make a Halo film years and years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
it went into and it went into development hell for whatever reason, and it didn't end up getting made. But yeah, he was on board to do a fully fledged Halo film. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I think they tried to make a TV series around the release of Halo Reach as well, and that ended up in development hell and cancelled too.
Go on then, Ben.
Maybe it's just
I was just going to say, Ben. Go on then, Ben. If my answer's so
Calling
crap,
me
what's
out.
your answer?
I would do a telly show, and I'd have it over a couple seasons, and I would do LA Noir.
Oh,
okay.
That's
what
I
an
would
interesting
do.
pick.
I would take the structure of the game, so maybe one season is where you beat cop, and wherever he goes next. The second season, it's kind of like The Wire, where every season's a different area, and so the second season is like Vice or Homicide, and then then it's Vice and Arson.
Actually, the second season would be Traffic if you follow
Okay,
that.
well, which
Yeah.
you
Get
might
it
change.
right,
You
Ben.
could change it
Traffic,
up though.
Homicide, Vice, Arson.
Yeah, well, you could change it up,
Yeah.
couldn't you? You could switch it about and stuff. But I do that basic structure, and like that, it's basically our world. But I love the idea of doing a post-war cop drama in like the 50s era. I would love that idea, and exploring different areas of the police and the different crime sections and the different styles of cases in that era as well. I wouldn't do the game story because that's the game,
Yeah.
but I would do
Yeah.
that world.
Would you
maybe
go
maybe
Cole
different.
Phelps?
No, I wouldn't do the game story. I wouldn't do it.
No, but I
Yeah.
just mean like, so you could still have it be Cole Phelps, but it's different cases. But you
But we
know
just,
what
you
to
just
do,
have
I
it
think-
set in that police precinct.
No, well, to be fair, you could because that's the guy, that's the actor, that's his face. So you
'Cause
could
that's the
have him.
thing.
You could have him pop in. To be fair,
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like if you just do the world, then like, kind of, what's the point of calling it LA Noir? Like you're just making a detective show.
See,
Yeah, that's fine.
I would.
Yeah.
I would like you to.
I'm
bring-
not. I'm not trying to
I-
trash your idea. I was just.
well,
trying
you
to...
are. You're coming out. I don't like
Well, yeah, because
it.
it's awful, Ben. All right, you made me say it. It's a crap idea. Moving on.
I
was going to say I like the thought of I like the thought of Cole Phelps coming in and helping out on a few cases and just
Yeah.
being very, very
Cameo.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Just being very, very aggressive about people's shoe sizes, exactly like he is in the game.
It's like, ooh,
Like that,
this
I
is
feel like that's
nothing.
how we caught everyone in the game. He's like, "What's your shoe size?"
Yeah.
Would-
It can't be LOL Noir. Jesus Christ.
LOL Noir.
What is wrong with me?
Very different, very different.
It can't be LA Noir without the janky faces. We need the janky faces in the
Yeah.
in the
I was just
TV
about to
show.
say, do you have it where like whenever they're being interrogated, they're like, "I didn't do it, honestly."
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay, I'll do that.
I'd love that.
Okay.
But just
Scott,
the
I'd
simple,
watch that show.
The simple idea of the cop, an intriguing cop drama set in the 50s, and each season's a different area of the police force, and there's cases, and like the Line of Duty has great scenes, interrogation scenes. You could do that, and I'd love it. Nice and easy.
No, I think I'd watch that.
Thanks, guys.
Who's next?
You go, mate.
Okay.
Let's see what shambles is about to come out of his mouth now. Off you go.
The respect is just off the gauge right now, isn't it? Jesus. Right. So this is a bit of a, I don't know, maybe a strange pick because I don't doubt that you guys have played this game, but I think it'd be pretty interesting. I'd make a TV series based on the Overwatch world.
All right. I've not played it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right, Ben? Is that is
So
that satisfying? Or...
so far, you haven't stumbled over yourself. So keep going.
I'll leave that to you, mate. I mean,
Wait a
it doesn't
minute.
really work because of the...
You spent the whole podcast tripping over your words.
There we go. He's just
yeah.
done it now. There we go. That'll do.
Listen. No, so I don't know if you've seen any of the Overwatch animated shorts.
I've seen a couple of them. Yeah.
Well, I think basically just doing something like that would be amazing because in Overwatch there's tons of characters. Obviously, there's something at this point like in the region of 30 to 40 different characters that you can pick in the game. And they all have quite sort of well conceived lore about them. They've got all these quite interesting backstories and different characteristics and personalities and stuff. And unfortunately, you don't really learn about that within the game because it's a purely multiplayer game. So there are little hints in some of the maps as to various things to do with the characters and the story at large of Overwatch, but nothing really solid. And then these animated shorts are basically little lore videos which kind of fill in some of the gaps, but they always leave you wanting more because the quality of the animation on those things it's Pixar quality.
They're really good.
Yeah, it's so some of them are so well done. I recommend you guys check out the one that's it's Genji and Hanzo, their little animated short if you've not seen that one. In fact, I was going to say when something happens, but I won't spoil it because it's like one of the better bits of it. But when that something happens, it's great. You almost get chills, kind of thing. If you play the game, I think it like hits a bit harder. But just from an animation standard, it's great. So I'd love to see like them really go into that world and explore it within like a proper TV show. I'd watch that.
I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
And that is, which actor would you get to play Doomfist? And there's only one right answer.
Yeah, well, we know the right answer because it was rumoured that this guy was going to voice Doomfist, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out to be him.
Michael
Terry
Cera.
Crews, Terry Crews, right? Terry
Yeah,
Crews.
yeah. You'd have to get Terry Crews. Basically, Terry
Michael
Crews.
Cera, yeah. Sorry, we didn't.
It took a few seconds for that to click in. Then.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
okay, yeah, Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews campaigned to play him, and then Blizzard never cast him, which is why he ended up in Crackdown 3.
That's interesting because I think that would have really that would have gone down really well. I think the fans would have liked that and everything.
That's strange. That why not?
Maybe you wanted too much money. Maybe that was the problem.
So would you go live
those
action,
Hollywood
Dan?
wages?
Or would you go animated?
No. It's a similar thing to the idea of what I was talking about with Last of Us, or trying to, where like those characters, they are those characters within the game, and if you cast someone else as them, it wouldn't quite work. In my opinion, it might work. But
No, I
yeah,
think animated's the right path to go for
yeah.
Overwatch.
It's got the animated look. It's got that kind of feel to it. It's a big part of the look of Overwatch is that sort of slightly cartoony, slightly Pixar-like feel. So I wouldn't like to.
I could actually see
that
that like being on Netflix, the animated, because they do animate. They do new animated shows. Like they did Castlevania, didn't they? A couple of years back.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely see that like on a Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
There's a company that did Castlevania. I think that's got like 3 seasons now. They also did an animated Godzilla series, which is apparently very good. And they're now just bringing out one based on the Capcom game Dragon's Dogma.
Okay.
Dragon's Dogma, yeah. That's
which
an old one.
I know someone who could be listening who is a huge Dragon's Dogma fan. So shout out to Derek.
Friend of the show.
I know he's very, very much looking forward to that. But yeah, I will close off and give you my idea. See if anyone wants to dump all over mine. But
I'm sure Ben will find something wrong with it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I was also going to go down the TV series route. And I don't know how many of you have played this sort of series of games. I never played any of the old ones. I did play the new ones. But Deus Ex.
Ooh,
I've
good
not
shout.
played them.
Like Deus Ex Human Revolution was such an amazing game, and I loved Mankind Divided as well. And Deus Ex has such a sort of vast, sort of almost cyberpunk Blade Runner sort of world, where everyone's got implants and robotic arms, and you wouldn't. Again, it's a one where you wouldn't necessarily have to use the characters from the games. You could like go off and explore this world of implants and black market, like basically limb stealing. Like the black market sells stolen bionics and stuff like that. It's seedy, it's gritty. You could perhaps like base it almost on like a set of like detectives or like the police force from that sort of era, or just base it on someone who ends up involved with the sort of shadier side of the city, explore both the big corporations and their corruption, the small businesses that end up affected by it. There's a lot to explore.
Would everything be gold like in the games? Just a gold sheen?
Oh yeah. Like you'd get like, if I could, I'd get someone like J.J. Abrams, who I know is going to lens flare everything. Like it's going to be the shiniest city known to man.
That'd be great because he could set up your show, and it wouldn't go anywhere, and it would just
Yeah.
all these questions thrown out that never get answered, all these plot points will never get resolved.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. Perfect.
JJ called out there live on the podcast.
Right. I'll fight him.
Big words. It'll come back to haunt you
Yeah,
one
I
day.
can't believe I said that. Oh.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll get Lindelof to write it.
Oh, he said it. The king. We love Lindelof on this show, don't we, James?
Yeah, sure. I
Watch-
don't know who that is.
Convincing.
Watchmen, you'll change your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Watch Watchmen.
Watch The Watchmen.
Yeah, change your mind.
Who watches the
Ben,
Watchmen?
oh, God damn it, you beat me to it!
Sorry.
Hey!
Sorry,
That's
Jay.
what you get. Darn it.
I'm not that slow-minded after all.
You redeemed it all in that one moment.
Back in the game.
Back on top.
So, with that, I think that's a nice little closing for the podcast this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's a
Cute,
nice little round off.
So yeah, if you enjoyed this podcast, then go onto the YouTube channel, like, subscribe. We'll be getting them up on Spotify and iTunes and other places hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Well, we're still figuring out how to do that.
Let's not promise something we can't deliver. To
yeah. So
seems fairly simple.
We'll figure it out. It'll go up there.
You might even be listening to this on iTunes now, which would be ironic.
I mean, if you are listening to iTunes, on iTunes or Spotify or anything, we figured it out.
You're welcome.
But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon. There'll be way more content coming out from us. And thank you for listening. And yeah,
See you next
See you
time.
next week.
see you next time.
Bye.
Farewell.